Hello everyone and welcome to another Rise of Kingdoms video. This is Dragothian here, and today there was a nice system message in the mail for all of us announcing a couple of changes to two very popular commanders, even though the one here is misspelled. Hopefully they can fix that. That being said, there's a nerf to Attila, and we're going to go over how hard that nerf is really quickly and go through the different skills that were changed. Also a buff to Constantine, who is a commander that can go against Attila in the open field from a garrison perspective and do good work. And again, he got a buff. So we'll see how those two things meet up and equal out each other. And then finally, I also want to talk about the AOE change that's coming, because that's been a topic of discussion over the last few days after that latest patch note. And I want to kind of go over that really quick too and tell you exactly what that means, because I have the intel, I've got the data to tell you what that means, so you know exactly what to expect in the coming weeks whenever this patch comes out. But let's go ahead and jump right into the changes that are coming. Attila, again, if you just saw my last video, just maxed him. And then the next day, there's a change to Attila. There's a little bit of a nerf. So let's jump into the second skill. There's a second skill and the fourth skill that were changed. The first skill, again, at the end of the day, when you read through all this, when attacking garrisons, the current skill reads increases all damage dealt by 10%, and then you also have a 10% chance every turn to reduce the garrison's defense by 25% for 3 seconds. The only change to this skill is the increases damage dealt piece. It goes from 10 down to 5, so it will scale, I'm assuming, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 whenever you're leveling that skill up. And again, that's the second skill. This is a very powerful skill for Attila. This is where a good chunk of his damage comes from. However, I don't necessarily know if that 5% reduction is going to be a massive, massive difference. It is going to tune him down a bit, so it's not quite as devastating, but just this skill alone is not really that big of a deal. The Siege of Constantinople, skill 2, losing 5% all damage dealt. This is not a nuking commander, so your numbers are not in the 40, 50,000 range. They're in the 12 to 15 range at best usually, unless you're going against a city, and then sometimes that ends up being 30,000 plus. But a 5% reduction on that's only 1,500 damage, for instance, against a 30,000 damage number. If you're even lower, say it's 15,000, and you're talking a 750 damage difference, which again, in the grand scheme of things, is a little bit of a tweak, but it's not necessarily the end of the world. Now let's go into the fourth skill. The fourth skill is where this can be either made or not, like just completely ruined. So the fourth skill, evidently there was a skill cooldown that we did not know about. And again, the reason we didn't know is because it wasn't typed into the skill. So I really would look for the developers to do a better job of, if there is a skill cooldown, letting us know what that is in the description of the skill. And then again, with the change, I would hopefully look for the developers to tell us what that new skill cooldown is, so we can know how to properly use these commanders and just instead of throwing things out there willy-nilly, know exactly what to expect and know how to compare these things up. Obviously, Attila and Takeda are the best rallying commanders in the game currently today. This skill change, and I'll go through it really quick, will either decide if Attila is still the best or if he's going to be more situational going forward. So the way the skill reads currently, and evidently it's not going to change, is when the army led by Attila contains only cav units, normal attacks have a chance to increase own troop damage, all damage dealt for the next 2 turns, has a 25% chance to increase all damage dealt by 50%, and has a 25% chance to increase all damage dealt by 100%. So again, you've either got the chance when you proc this skill, and again, this is a proc skill, this is not a guaranteed every skill time or whatever. It's a 25% chance. So when this skill procs, you're either going to get a 50% damage or 100% damage boost, which is awesome. That's a huge bonus. And again, this is the main portion where his skills cause so much damage. Okay, this is where the extra damage comes from that makes those reports look insane. Okay, now what's the current cooldown? Is it 5 seconds? Is it 4 seconds, 2 seconds, 10 seconds? What is it, right? I've seen jumps during combat. That's this skill going off, like you're doing 9,000 damage to a target, and then magically you're doing about 13 to 14,000. That's when the 50% damage is popping off. And again, if it jumps to 18,000, that means the 100% damage popped off. So I've seen those happen. I haven't really counted the seconds between them. We need to do some testing, right? But let's pretend that this has a 5-second cooldown. And currently, the way the skill reads, this has a 2-second duration because it's for the next 2 turns, and each turn is a second. So 2 seconds out of 5 currently, let's just say, is the cooldown. If they increase it to 7 or 8-second cooldown, respectively, right? That's not that bad. An extra couple seconds is not going to be the end of the world. Again, a minor tweak. And then when you combine it with the first change from the second skill, that adds up to a pretty sizable tweak, but it's not like Nerf bat banging this guy into the ground. If they double the duration, or if they triple the duration, whatever the duration is, right? That may be where this guy starts to really take a back seat going forward, and you might want to start looking at Saladin Takeda as your main rallying commander combo for Cav. And then same thing with, Saladin Genghis, or Genghis Saladin. I prefer Genghis primary on that for the less rage requirement and more skill damage. But you get my drift, right? I think that ultimately it depends on how they do this 4th skill as to how bad this nerf is. If I had to take a guess, and of course my last guess was wrong, I didn't think they were going to nerf Attila at all. I thought this was going to be pretty much in the rearview mirror considering how long he's been out. But if I had to take a guess, the combination of these 2 nerfs are not going to be a massive, massive destroying of Attila. I think it's just kind of bringing him a little bit more in line with the rest of the commanders, because if we all are honest with ourselves, he was just a little OP. I think they can do right by the people who did Attila here and minorly nerf him a bit and keep him in good shape, or they can really, really kind of just mess this whole situation up and nerf bat the crap out of him by really increasing the whatever the skill cooldown is for this 4th skill in a massive way. And if they do that, that's going to be a different story. We're going to do some testing. I'm going to obviously do some videos on this so that we can figure out, now that I have a max Attila and I obviously already have a max Takeda, we can do some testing on some level 1 passes so nobody takes any dead. We've got Kill Event coming up in the Mightiest Governor anyway, so this is a great opportunity to go ahead and do that. And then, again, we'll bring some of this information back to you guys so you know exactly what's coming. Again, skill 4 is kind of ambiguous still. We're going to get some more information on that. Next piece I want to go over is Constantine. He got a little bit of a buff. And again, if you saw my how to beat Attila Takeda video a few days ago, Constantine was a big part of this. And a lot of it has to do with how his skills are set up and his reductions in attack and things like that. So they adjusted this 3rd skill of Constantine. Instead of it just giving the 10% attack for the Watchtower and the garrison attack itself, when your commander is the garrison commander, increasing the attack of the garrison by 10% and the Watchtower, and then it also reduces incoming normal attack damage from cav units by 10%. Again, this is another nerf technically to Attila, but this gives people a solid commander that really needed a buff in my opinion anyway. He came out roaring out of the gates as being one of the best garrison commanders in the game. Then he got a little bit of a nerf before he was released, and ever since then he's just kind of been a okay piece to have in your repertoire of commanders. But with this bonus of having an extra 10% to cav units attack damage, or reducing the incoming normal attack damage for cav, this makes him almost a must-have to combat Attila and Takeda being, again, one of the best rallying commanders in the game. Now, again, when Attila and Takeda are rallying a city, because you have all 4 troop types at different tiers, it's very difficult to use Constantine as a primary. You may want to look into using a mixed troop nuking style commander as a primary with garrison. And again, there's a couple different ways you can do that. YSG primary would work in this situation actually, because a lot of his skills are not archer specific. We can go into different combinations there, but Charles is also still a very good combination because, again, you've got the incoming damage reducing from Charles's shield, and you can go really heavy into garrison and defense, which is always going to be good. That being said, the old way Attila and Takeda worked, if you had a Charles Constantine in your city, you were going to get just completely destroyed, because again, a lot of those skills are infantry specific. So you want to make sure that you don't use that kind of a combination currently, although I'm interested to see if that will now work, seeing as Constantine is getting a 10% damage reduction when it comes to the incoming cav damage. So we'll see how that works. Again, we're going to do some testing on that for you guys too, but this is a buff for Constantine. Right now, Constantine is a very, very solid commander in the open field when it comes to defending against Attila Takeda in combination with Charles being primary. And he's also very good inside of the Ark of Osiris as a garrison defender too, because of his massive second heal, and then also his buffs and debuffs. And then if you have full infantry, the health bonus is insane, and that helps in combination with a commander like Richard really keep that garrison up for a very long time, which is exactly what you need inside of the Ark of Osiris, so you can get reinforcements coming into the garrison and all that good stuff. But overall, this is a buff for Constantine. It's not a massive buff, but it's buff enough to where, depending on how Attila Takeda look after these changes, I may need to max Constantine just because he's going to have that kind of impact against the best rallying combination in the game. Now, if you look at this last sentence in the mail that we were sent, it says, due to these changes, we will compensate players who own Attila in separate batches. I don't know what that means. I know that when YSG and Mehmed and what were some of the other AOE commanders in that nerf? I think that was really it. I don't think there's any other AOE legendary commanders unless my mind's just, it's very possible it is. But needless to say, we did get universal sculptures back when those nerfs happened. And if I recall correctly, they did not reset the commander. So if this works, we may get a free upgrade to another commander here coming to us on our main account. So we'll see how this goes. I think that ultimately it really depends on this force skill on Attila, on how bad they nerf that skill cooldown, as to how bad this nerf is going to be for Attila and those who have Attila. Last thing I want to talk about, and again, I think that it's far away. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, I can just bring it up really quick. So the AOE, this one down here at the bottom, made minor adjustment to area attack skills. These skills will now choose targets from all enemy governor troops that are currently attacking you and are within the skill's area of effect. So they did make a little bit of a change to the wording. I think the original wording was a lot different. It said something along the lines of the targets that we're going to get hit are only the ones that are attacking you, and that's it. I'm not sure if they changed the wording or not, but it seems like a little more clear. But maybe that's because I know the difference. So here's the explanation for what this means. So this is actually a buff to AOE commanders. So this is another buff to YSG in a flag or Sun Tzu or whatever. Okay, so when currently, if you're in the Lost Kingdom and you have 3 different alliances touching your structure, okay, and you have, so let's just for the ease of the argument, Sun Tzu YSG, okay, when 3 alliances rally the target that you're garrisoning, the first one that hits that flag or pass or whatever gets hit with the AoEs. Okay, so Sun Tzu and YSG will strike that rally coming in. Now, while that rally is happening, say you get simultaneously rallied by the 2 other alliances that are touching your flag. Currently, those 2 alliances will only take the counterattack damage. They will not take AoE damage. So effectively, that nerfed your AoE capability because you weren't actually hitting the other 2 alliances hitting your flag. With this adjustment, all of those alliances that are hitting your flag will also receive the AoE damage. Now, again, with Sun Tzu, that does not give you any kind of damage dealt nerf because he does not have that AoE skill reduction of the more targets you hit, the less damage you do per target. However, with YSG, with Mehmed, those that will happen if you have either of those commanders in the structure. Instead of hitting your first target for 100%, it goes down because you're hitting 2 targets or 3 targets or however many alliances are rallying you at the same time. So that's something to keep in mind. This was actually a buff. This was a fix to a problem. I was assured that this does not affect barbarian farming. I was assured that this does not change the way that other players that are inside the area of effect bubble or fan, whatever you're using, will still get hit. So again, if you have a rally coming into you and it hits you, and then you've got AOEs going off, and then one of the same alliance members' armies comes by your area, you will still hit them, you will still kill them, and they haven't caused any damage to you. So that has not changed either. I just want you guys to know that. I know there's been a bunch of videos out kind of showcasing that, but I wanted you to know that from this channel as well. And I figured this is a good spot to stick it in, considering all the changes that have been happening over the last few days. We got the patch coming up with the spring event, which is supposed to be really good. Save your gems, folks. 7,000 gems for free to play, because you get those 7,000 gems back, but you'll get 35 universal sculptures for free. Why not do that? Same thing for everybody playing, obviously, whether you pay money into the game or not. Have 7,000 gems handy so that you can have this spring event go crazy for you and get you a bunch of resources and rewards. Hopefully this has been a good explanation of what has happened today and over the last few days with the changes that are happening into the game. Again, we're going to have to wait and see a little bit on the Attila thing, just to summarize. It depends on the 4th skill, in my opinion, as to how bad the nerf will be. The way it reads right now, and assuming they don't go crazy on the skill cooldown, it's not that bad. Don't go, don't start selling your stocks. The stock market has not dropped that much, okay? And then same thing with Constantine, a good buff, but it's specific to really Attila or Saud and Takeda, or whatever combination of Cav rallies are coming your way. This is a specific buff to Constantine to help combat Attila Takeda or Saud and Takeda. So that's what I would recommend. And again, if you've got the extra sculptures laying around, which I may have in the next few days or weeks or however long it takes to get the compensation for maxing Attila the day before, it may make sense to go ahead and pump those extra sculptures into Constantine to max him out, making sure that 3rd skill has all the bonuses against Cav that I can get. So I want to say that I'm a little short on that 3rd skill. I think I only got 2 skills worth of skills into that out of 5. So I hope you enjoyed the video. It went a little longer than I wanted to, as always, because I'm long-winded and I like to talk a lot, and I want to give you all the information that I can. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I will see y'all next time. Cheers. Have a good one, and take care.